I'm currently the biggest advocate for my dentist's office. Actually, dentists in general. Because I got a new tooth.
Wait, now it's a new tooth?
It's a new tooth. Well, it's a new half tooth. But I'm calling it a new tooth.
Can you go in on that a little bit?
Yeah, so back when I was receiving Army dentistry, they filled a cavity, but did nothing else with it. So they filled the cavity. Obviously, the cavity decayed out around it. There's nothing I can do about that. You can't get inside your tooth to clean it. So you can only do the best you can. And then, yeah, so it decayed out around it, and I had to get half of my tooth drilled out and then reset with like a ceramic inlay. So your girl has a new lisp and a new tooth.
This is a reminder to all of our listeners out there that if you haven't been to the dentist in a while, schedule an
6 months.
appointment.
If you haven't been to the dentist in over 6 months, go to the dentist.
I'm like calculating it in my head. I'm pretty close. I have to go back pretty soon.
Go to the dentist. Yeah.
Because you don't want to miss another minute of season 2 of Taps. This is season 2. Deuces.
Wait, did my thing? No, not anymore.
Oh yeah, we're working on it. But yeah, everyone, welcome back. It's another season of hopefully not Hershey Bears dominance, but we
it's
can
the Hershey Bears against the world. Derogatory.
Really derogatory. Yes, I use that in a derogatory manner. Hershey Bears. Well, we'll see. The Wolves, or we'll talk about that. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm Andrew. That's D, and we're back, and we're excited to have you back as well. We got a lot to talk about, as because now we're not starting halfway through the season. We're admittedly a little bit past the beginning of the season, but it's still brand new. We got a lot ahead of us. It's still October, so you know what? I'm still calling it the beginning of the season.
Games.
What?
They haven't played that many games. We're fine.
No, I mean some teams only played like 3, so I feel like we haven't missed a whole lot, and we have a lot to give. So we're just gonna get right after it. We got a couple of big names that are heading down to the AHL that a lot of our friends in the NHL have been quite familiar with over the last couple of years. Connor Sheary, you know him. He used to raise Stanley Pittsburgh. Well, he's heading down to the Syracuse Crunch, and it's always a little kind of jarring when you see these guys that have huge totals of NHL games played and played huge factors in, I don't know, Stanley Cup winning teams, and now it's just the nature of the salary cap, the nature of the league, and just some guys' careers where it's like, well, can't really fit you in with the Lightning, so we're going to give you some time in the Syracuse and figure your game out and kind of see what happens. And it's always really interesting to see some guys can take that as, a bit of a wake-up call, head on down and kind of light a fire in their butt and really get it going, and they're back up in the big club in no time. Other guys might have that attitude of like, oh, I've been in the show all this time. I have 2 Stanley Cup rings plugging my ears. I'm not going to listen to the coaches down here. I'm just going to kind of, coast my way along and not, roll the sleeves up and get to work. So I'm admittedly not familiar with the character of Connor Sheary, so I don't know what to expect, but it's always interesting to see a big name like that coming down through the ranks.
I agree. I remember, like, my memory of this man is playing franchise mode on, like, NHL, like, 19 or something. Back when he was in Buffalo.
Oh, you're like a challenge.
like having to come up like he's in Buffalo on franchise mode, and I'm like, the announcer saying his name every time. I'm always like, yes. That's my recollection of this guy. My dad is a Penguins fan, so obviously like there's that as well, like on the forefront of my mind. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. He is. I don't know. I think he's a player that'd be really valuable for the young players, and I think that's like the major thing that they are weighing. You have a really successful parent club, so why not like take somebody who has had that success and build the winning mindset from the very beginning, from the very outset, with the young players, the prospects, the rookies, and really help build the character of those babies, basically their children, and let them learn from somebody who can say, not only did I do it, I did it multiple times. I think it's good. And I think that's the kind of attitude that he should take into it. I can't tell him what to do. I can't tell you what he's going to do. But yeah, I think he'll be really good for the Crunch. And I I hate to say it, but like the Crunch are always so dominant. They're so good. They're just going to stay good. And this was a really good move, I think, for them on that side. And then for Tampa on the like salary cap, the roster management, all of that stuff kind of side.
Yeah, I think this is it's a bit of a different looking Syracuse team than usual. If you look at kind of what they've been doing over their first 5 games in the season here, they have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rookies in the tops of their scoring. So it's a young club, and they don't have the usual names like H. Gonsalves in there. So it's been. You have your usual, what to expect from Syracuse. I feel like over the years they've been one of the most consistent clubs here at least in terms of AHL level. And so now that you have kind of a bit more of a youth movement going on, at least early on this season, you get to insulate that with a guy who's almost played 600 NHL games since the last time he's been down here in this league. And, we can all say, oh, this is this, Sheary kind of falling off or something like that. And it's not necessarily always the case, like I said, with the salary cap and everything. A lot of times there's just not enough room, especially with, what the numbers look like, someone's contract. It might be a little easier to get a guy like Sheary down there. And again, it doesn't like close the door on his NHL career. It's not like, oh, well, that's it for him. The guy's what, 32? So he's got plenty of runway in his career ahead of him. This is just another stop as far as I see. And it could be a stop for a couple games. It could be, he might be down here for the season. But I don't think he seems like the kind of guy who is going to just kind of take his ball and go home. I think he's going to be a huge addition to this Crunch club, and it could be very interesting to see in, developments in the North, because it's like, okay, of course, we thought Syracuse was going to be down, but guess not.
Yeah, and he's always struck me as a team player.
Mm-hmm.
Other things that's always like, some guys you're like, I don't really remember much of you, but I know that you're a team player. and I don't know. I will say it again. I said it a bajillion times, a gazillion times, but it never hurts to surround your babies with very knowledgeable veterans.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
No, thank you. I have a new tooth. I'm trying to protect it.
All right, that's fair. I didn't take the tooth into account.
It's like longer on the front part of it than it used to be, because like obviously like I had the tooth for 28 years. It like wore down like a lot. So they like kind of matched up like where it's supposed to make contact with the other tooth. Just a little longer than what I'm used to. So I'm like not closing my mouth as much, which is where the lisp is coming from, because I'm scared to like make contact with the other tooth and like hurt myself.
Yeah, you should definitely protect that. That sounds painful.
It was like 2 weeks since I got it all done. So it's like I'm still like kind of like finding the equilibrium with my tooth, so I will not be yelling. Thank you.
Good. Smart play. There's a couple other kind of big veterans that were coming in to the AHL here. We got Arshdeep Bains and Erik Brannstrom coming into Abbotsford, recently assigned from Vancouver. Now, Bains is a name I think we're all a little more familiar with, at least in the AHL. He was second on the team in points for the Abbey Canucks. And, he's been back and forth, contributing what he can up there in Vancouver. I believe he's a local kid, and, you always want to see those local success stories, growing up in the area. Now he's playing for the hometown club, and I've always been wondering kind of like when's he gonna like really break through and kind of find a home with the Vancouver Canucks and not so much Abbotsford, but it's right down the road. It's not, it's not like he has to find a new house or anything. So it's, another just kind of development for him he was in Vancouver. He's back. Brannstrom is a little more of like we really need to find a home for this guy, because it was Ottawa, then he was in Colorado for like 20 minutes, and then he was in Vancouver. Then Vancouver sent him down. Then they brought him back up, and now he's back down here. Brannstrom's a guy who I think has had a lot of potential to really kind of make himself an anchor in an NHL club. And instead, he's finding him, unable to find a home. Now he's working on his game here in Abbotsford. I'm starting to wonder kind of what kind of player he's going to end up becoming. He was a huge part of that Mark Stone trade that saw him going over to Ottawa, and everyone was like, yeah, here's like the new power play quarterback for the Senators. And he had good numbers offensively, but as we saw, a lot of the problem in Ottawa was keeping the puck out of the net. He kind of struggled with that. So maybe he can work on that a little better in Abbotsford. If not, then at least we know the Canucks are going to score a lot of goals with him in the lineup. Hopefully.
I think the whole organization, like Vancouver, is on the up. Like they have, they're finally pulling their players in from the AHL, and they're making good moves, and they're just like they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. And then I feel there's like that weird intermediary transition between when your NHL team is good and your AHL team is also good, and they're good at the same time. And we're kind of in that little intermediary right here. They're like, pretty good. Vancouver, not so good. And then now Vancouver's good. Abby's not like, they're kind of transitioning. They're not bad, but they're like, you've got to find the like sweet spot. I think that's what these two reassignments are. These loans. I think they are part of that weird like transition between it's like, okay, so like we're on the up in the big show. So we need to keep like these players healthy. We need to keep them playing, because would you rather them sitting in the press box and not playing, or would you rather them be playing so when you need them a little bit down the line, they're good to go? They've been playing at pace, and they don't have like an insane adjustment because they've just been watching hockey for a month and a half,
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely the way to kind of just like keep the bodies warm, keep the legs, keep the blood pumping. You don't want to keep these guys.
Legs feed the wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Herb. It's definitely good for, especially when you got, a guy like Brannstrom who has had his struggles on the defensive side of things. And I mean, admittedly, even on the offensive side of things, I really just kind of checked his stats out. I didn't believe that he's almost played 300 NHL games at this point, but like his whole identity coming into the league was like, he's a bit of a smaller defenseman, but he really controls the game from the blue line and like really helps out your offensive numbers. And then I started looking through, and I'm like, oh, so like the most points he's scored in a season is 20. And you start scratching your head, like, okay, I get it. He's a defenseman. He's not out there to be Connor McDavid. But you kind of also expect, like, okay, he's been here, he's been around the block. Pegged as an offensive guy, there's a bit more than expectation than 20 points. So I can kind of see where Vancouver's like, all right, we have Quinn Hughes. We don't necessarily need a power play quarterback. What we need is a guy who can chip in offensively, but we can also rely on defensively. So, if we got a crowded room up there in Vancouver, like you said, they're on the up. They have a good squad. They almost knocked off the Western Conference champions in the playoffs last year. This is not a group like Ottawa's blue line that's struggling to find their identity. This is a pretty set lineup. So we can offer him more opportunities to get ice in Abbotsford as opposed to trying to break through up in Vancouver, where honestly, again, you're just not going to see a lot of the ice unless there's an injury kind of opening up a spot on the lineup. But we don't want to wish that on anyone. So instead, while everyone's healthy, get your ice time in Abbotsford, work a bit on that defensive game. I mean, you got the Sedins down there who were great two-way players, working on player development. You got that Swedish chemistry. Like you can work your way on back. I think there's still a path out there for Brannstrom. I also kind of see the clock kind of starting to tick once you're on your third NHL organization.
Yes, but everybody develops in their own time.
Mm-hmm.
And I still am a firm believer that nobody is above development. Connor McDavid is not above development. Sidney Crosby is not above development. Alex Ovechkin is not above development. Like, you
don't give Hershey any ideas.
No, because you I didn't think about that. But like Ovechkin just like he gets like right to the record, and then they're like, Alex Ovechkin has been reassigned to the Hershey Bears.
He goes to ride the bus up there a little bit. Oh my god,
that'd be amazing.
I kind of would love the content.
I know, but that's like when like Carey Price got assigned to the Laval Rocket literally just so he could like condition a little bit. Like he was there for like a game. And it was like one of those wild things where it's like, I'm gonna get a number 31 Carey Price Laval Rocket jersey. Like,
you gotta take advantage of those moments when they do happen, because it's not often, but I love seeing
outside the realm of possibility either, because Ovechkin is aging. One injury could like set him back, and he's gonna have to do the rehab stint in Hershey. I cry. That'd be so funny.
Oh my! I don't want to put any thoughts in the Washington organization's head, because 23 was like, it was fun. I was like, oh yeah, historic win, Hershey, overtime, game 7. It was a lot of fun. And then last year I was like, again,
yeah,
I'm over it at this point. If we three-peat, the podcast might be over.
Bye guys.
But
really nice knowing you.
Yeah, exactly. And so while we're on the topic of Hall of Famers, let's look. We just had the Hall of Fame class announced here for the AHL.
Sure.
And as usual, we got 4 names. And those names are as follows. We have Rene Drolet. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
We
have Michael Layton. I know I'm pronouncing that one correctly. We have Dunk Fisher. I'm 99% sure I'm pronouncing that one correctly. And then Michel Picard, which again, I know with his time in Grand Rapids, that's pretty accurate.
4 of them.
Yeah, we got four legends that are going to be forever enshrined in the annals of American Hockey League history. Very storied, obviously, as we're all well familiar with. And I really enjoyed when I went to Laval and I got to be a part of the initiation ceremony, hearing the stories from the Hall of Famers themselves, and then from maybe family who are surviving those who are enshrined. So it's a wonderful honor. All four of these guys certainly deserve it. And, I'd like to throw out a congratulations to all of them.
Yeah. Like, massive congratulations. Like, to be enshrined in a Hall of Fame for anything means that you are one of the best of the best. You are one of the most elite of the most elite. And it doesn't matter if it is the Hockey Hall of Fame, the AHL Hall of Fame, the Dill Pickle Canning Hall of Fame. To be enshrined, I don't think there's one of those, but like,
We can make it.
I got a lot of opinions on pickles. So, but yeah, to be enshrined in a Hall of Fame for anything is like, that's it. You made it. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't think you accomplished everything you set out to accomplish, but you are one of the best of the best. Only 4 names get chosen for the AHL Hall of Fame every year. Only 4 people every year. Come on. And there's been like a lot of years of AHL hockey. Like a lot of years of AHL hockey. And you got picked one of 4.
Yeah. Dunk Fisher began his AHL career in 1947.
Post-war, baby.
Right. And I would actually love to see the records to see if maybe he served at that point. Because, I mean, if you're 20 in 1947,
Maybe this was 45. So
he might have been on Okinawa. We don't know.
I mean,
I'll look the records up.
probably not. I'm about to Google this man right now.
You can go ahead on that. While you're Googling Dunk Fisher's possible war record, I want to let our listeners know out there, while we're on the topic of the Hall of Fame and these guys being enshrined during the All-Star weekend, that the All-Star Game ticket, the AHL All-Star Game tickets, are now on sale. And for those who don't know, this year it's the long weekend is going to take place in Coachella Valley. And the Acrisure Arena down there is absolutely state of the art, from what I've heard. I've never been there. And it's going to be an incredible experience for those outdoorsy types. You have Joshua Tree National Park that's right down the road, and just in beautiful Palm Springs, like in the valley. It's gorgeous. You can go there and play golf. It's right by the rink. I'm sure Andrew Podorowski loved it when he was down there. And if you think about, an early February trip down to Southern California and want to see some more of the best, maybe some future Hall of Famers that are going to be down there on the ice, some future NHL stars, tickets are available. And I strongly suggest going and experiencing a fun All-Star weekend. Laval was incredible. I wasn't unfortunately able to attend San Jose, but I would love if you all were a part of the festivities in Coachella. Have we found out about Dunk Fisher?
We're working on it. Okay, so he would have just turned 18 when World War II ended. He was born August 30th, 1907.
Okay, yeah.
So the first couple days of September and the war was completely
done. So, yeah.
It's possible, but not likely. He would have had to have lied about his age, which was
a lot of people did.
Right. But it's still not as easy
to
do as people would think. And if this man was working toward a pro hockey career, he you weigh the pros and cons. It's like, okay, well, when I turn 18, if the war is still going, I will go. But like, it's possible. I wouldn't say it's very likely that he did, because in his Wikipedia it would have said something about it, and it didn't say anything about it in his Wikipedia. So
Yeah.
it's likely. There was a Duncan Fisher in Regina, where he's from, that apparently did serve, according to veterans.gc.ca. It's the government of Canada. But I'm trying to figure out. I just got to go back to, it says husband of Sarah Fisher of Regina, but how old he was when he died. He was 90 when he died. He was not 51. This is not that Duncan Fisher. So
well, it was a fun rabbit hole to dive down for sure. I found out that Dunk Fisher played 8 games with the Detroit Red Wings. So
yes,
there's a little tie-in.
New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, there was really only a couple of choices back then, so
6
to be exact.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah. Well,
Great name,
congratulations again to Dunk Fisher.
Yeah, to abbreviate Duncan to Dunk, 10 out of 10. What a
Just
solid.
these days, if he would have scored a big goal, the kids would have said he's dunking.
Dunk on him. Yeah, like the merch would be in Hershey Bears. We don't want to give you any ideas, but if you want to release a Dunk on him t-shirt, I will buy it.
If we're supposed to be in like the Hershey Bears villain era, we need to stop giving them so many good ideas. Are we really here to try and make them likable, or are they the villains?
They're kind of like Loki. They're like a likable villain, I guess. Like, I don't want to like them, but like if they want to release a Dunk on them Duncan Fisher t-shirt, I will like wear it.
Well, Hershey marketing department, you heard it.
Your move, Hershey.
So for any new listeners out here that are just getting into the chaos that is TAPS, we like to also take a look forward at our weekend of games coming up. And I think we should dive in. It's early in the season, but we want to highlight some big matchups that are already going on.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. But I want to start with, it's also been kind of tradition for D&I. Speaking of dunking, so the San Jose Barracuda have been a big target of our dunks for the beginning of time.
Again, I will say we weren't dunking on the Barracuda. We were forcefully urging them to play to their potential. There's a difference.
I was kind of dunking on them.
Okay, well, I was forcefully urging them to play. Okay, so we don't speak French. Let's not use this we, okay?
Well, you cover a French-speaking team, so allegedly. Anyway, this is not your daddy's San Jose Barracuda. Lot of youngsters on this team. Throw in a little bit of Andrew Podorowski, throw in a little bit of Yaroslav Askarov. This has gone from the doormat of the Pacific.
Some hockey.
They're a fun team.
They're playing hockey. I'm so proud of them.
And now that they have like this beautiful brand new arena, like they are a fun team now. I think this could be a real interesting story all season. But maybe first, they gotta get past the Henderson Silver Knights this weekend.
Right, but maybe it's the new arena, which would explain Utah.
Well, they had the new arena last year, and they got dunked on by everyone in the Pacific.
No, it's different. It's somehow different this year.
It's maybe there's.
I don't know. Like, I can't explain it.
There's different vibes in the team. That's all there is.
They're the CUDA.
Yeah.
Really, okay, so the Barracuda went from being like this fun, energetic, like electric team, like just rising stars, poised to just like give them a couple of years and they're gonna dominate, and then like That disappeared for a couple of seasons, and it was like, this is not the Barracuda from 2 seasons ago. What happened to those Barracuda? And then I guess Hart started singing again because, ooh, Barracuda.
Oh, I feel like we've made this joke before, and yet I'm forever surprised by it.
But yeah,
It's
Barracuda.
it's a fun team too, and if you look at who's racking the points up, you expect Andrew Podorowski there, right? I mean, the guy's only been doing it since the beginning of time again, but Colin Graff, Luca Cagnani, Philip Bystead, Donovan Houle, and Kasper Halttunen, 5 rookies are leading the team in point scoring right now. So
That's
5 rookies.
the best hockey name roundup I have like ever seen.
Thank you.
Those are names.
Those are
good names. Those are
I had to stop myself from throwing up the Italian hands when I came up to Luca Cagnani.
Yeah,
But
what a selection of names. Honestly, that's what's doing it.
it's the name vibe.
And then you just like vibe with it.
Mm-hmm. And then you throw in a couple of mix of vets. Colin White's still doing his thing in San Jose. I've already mentioned Potts. Joey Keane. I got to go in on Joey Keane a little bit. Joey Keane was kind of thrown away by New York to Carolina. He won a Calder Cup with Chicago. No, apparently no NHL team was like, yeah, Calder Cup champion, number 1 defenseman on a Calder Cup team. Like that's we need one of those. No. So Joey Keane kind of ran away to Russia for a couple of years. Then he came back here following his old coach, Ryan Warsofsky, in the San Jose organization, trying to find an NHL job. I hope he can break through, but if he somehow can't, then he's going to be a menace in San Jose. He has a great pass out of the zone. He just, the way he can escape pressure, made that Chicago team so dangerous. It was such a component of that path to the championship. And so I love seeing him reunite with Potts. It's been a few years since that Calder Cup. I know after losing 2 in a row, Potts is hungry to reclaim that mantle. And I San Jose could be, if Askarov, I don't expect him to stay down in the CUDA all year. But if he is, the vibes, I don't know if I can handle it.
It'll be fun for sure. They're gonna give like Calgary a run for their money. They're gonna give Coachella like a little bit of heat. Like just keep swimming, Kuda. Just keep swimming. Just go. I don't know how to do more.
I love it. I love being able to give the CUDA their flowers after years of dunking on them. It feels good.
My flowers, I yented them into actually playing hockey. I'm taking 100% credit for it. I understand you have your opinions about who was responsible, but that's what they are, opinions. And in my factual existence, my faith in them has now paid off.
That's fair. You were a little, I will say you were a little nicer to him. I was a bit more just like, I was a little mean. I was a little mean.
It was some good cop, bad cop action. Some bum cop, bad cop, if you will. If you've never seen that movie,
yes. Oh man, I wanna move on to another team I find interesting. We have another that, while we were talking about Connor Sheary, you're going to see his first action this weekend. Syracuse takes on Wilkes-Barre Scranton. I always like a good hyphenated name. But this Penguins team got a lot of real interesting names. I mean, Emil Brannstrom is one of those borderline guys in Columbus for a while. Columbus, Cleveland, again, borderline. You got Jimmy Huntington, who's been around the block, has been a huge contributor on some teams like, I don't know, Hershey.
I
Or
thought you were gonna say Jimmy Hoffa for a second, and I was a little
no, he's buried underneath
Yeah.
LCA in
As far
Detroit.
as I was aware, he was buried in the Denny's parking lot. So, like,
There might be a little bit of him buried all over.
like my brain
um,
auto-filled Hoffa.
this Wilkes-Barre team, again, they have Rucker McGroarty, who a lot of Winnipeg fans aren't big fans of, but
They're big mad. They are angry.
I get it.
Like, I get it too, but at the end of the day, like, you're
He's
winning.
a kid. He's a kid.
Yeah, like he's a child, and you are Manitoba. Like, I wouldn't wish Manitoba on my worst enemy. It's Manitoba.
I know a group of fans whose passion it is to visit all 72 AHL arenas. And because of the travel schedule and the game schedule of the weekend, they're going to end up having to spend 5 days in Winnipeg in like December.
That's, you know what?
That's something I commend them, because I think it's I've never been to Winnipeg. I've actually always like wanted to go and see a game there.
People who live in Winnipeg love Winnipeg.
Yes. I think it has the potential to be a lot of fun. But for 5 days.
Of course, I'm dumb, and I'm going to Montreal for 10 days in January. So there's that. I guess
I thought the Montreal Laval area was a lot of fun. I loved it so much that I spent an extra 2 hours on an airplane in the park.
But I'm going from the Gulf Coast to Texas.
Bundle up.
To the Great White North.
Bundle up.
Starring Bob and Doug McKenzie for 10 days in January.
Bundle up. But anyway, there's another name there's a couple of names. First off, there's a defenseman who goes by the name of Scooter Bricky. We want to talk about the all-name team. Yeah, Wilkes-Barre's got one of those. We might have to compile a list of these guys and just
I'm actually
bracket system.
I will.
Best name in the league.
Next week, and
we'll start working on that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold you to it. I swear to God.
Okay.
And then another one of my favorite names, and just another guy that I love just for the chaos he creates, Boko Amama. He's there throwing hands in Wilkes-Barre. I don't even know if there's anyone in Syracuse who could step up to him, but if there is, you better be ready, because I mean, we've all been very familiar with what Boko's done in this league for years, and he's gonna be coming. So the crunch better. I know it's early in the season, but Boko doesn't care.
Yeah, it's crunch time in Syracuse.
Clever wordplay. I like it.
Yeah.
We got I mean, if you want to talk about a bear matchup, like, look at this big old bear here.
The Bears, and the antiquated word for bears that literally only a school in California still uses.
And hockey teams in the Northeast.
Weird.
Yep. That's Providence and Hershey. I feel like the last couple of years, these have been like the class of the Atlantic, right? Obviously Hershey, but Providence has been, again, kind of one of those staple, consistent teams that's been super competitive, no matter really who's on the roster. And if they have guys...
Contenders.
Exactly. At least until the playoffs start. Then you ruin it.
Well, they contend, but they can't follow through.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. It's whole playoffs, the lights are a little too bright sometimes. It's
just tradition at this point.
It is, right. There's a reason we had a whole episode named after their playoff show. That was fun. I know it's my beat and all. I being on the Griffins, watch and all that. Do you have
He's
yours.
somewhere. Here he is.
There you go.
He's behind the Bronco now. Wait, there he is.
Always nice to see you, Jar Jar. Anyway,
To see Johnny Burgers too.
it was so great seeing him on the wings the other night. It's the Griffins are on an early year road trip. And okay, road trips this early in the season are one thing, but they're going to Springfield and then to Lehigh Valley and then to Hartford. So it's going to be real interesting to see kind of how not just how this team reacts to a road trip this early in the season, but how they react to teams that they just don't usually see. But I always like to see these interconference, interdivision matchups, and it's a lot of fun for the fans because you're in Springfield.
Yeah, you just keep seeing the same teams over and over again. It's like the Rocket literally only play Toronto, Utica, Belleville, and Manitoba. And
Yes.
sometimes Abbotsford. That's it. Like, you see the same teams over and over again. You're like, yes, inject some life into this.
Right.
Some names I've never seen.
So some Lehigh Valley fans are used to seeing Hershey and Wilkes-Barre 35 times each are now going to be treated to seeing 6'8" Elmer Soderblom and his giraffe legs just rolling down the ice.
Fun.
I can't wait to see what the reactions are.
I like the kind of the certain level of control that the AHL teams have over their schedules.
Yes.
But bro, with the bubble. Okay, like with the bubble, and there's only like 5 teams total in Canada.
Yeah, that was tough.
If I never have to see a blue maple leaf with a crown in the center or a like old school B logo and a moose ever again, even though the moose do have
logo goes hard. Come on.
They have a really solid font for their
Yeah.
numbers. I love the little antlers.
The antlers is the numbers.
Blue jerseys ever again. It'll be too soon. Like, the only saving grace is that like a lot of those players have moved up to the NHL, so we don't have to worry about them anymore. But it's like I would like to see some variety in the on-ice fashion of the opponents the team that I cover faces.
The bubble was like 3 years ago. You gotta let it go.
They never got out of that mindset. Tell me why we're still only playing the other Canadian teams, Syracuse and Utica.
I can't explain that. I've been wanting to invest in a branch out schedule for a while. The league's got to make more money before then. Until then, I hope you like your 35 helpings of Belleville and Toronto a year.
Don't. But the bubble may have disbanded, but nobody told the North that.
No, I think if Chicago could play Milwaukee and Rockford 72 times a year, they would.
Yeah, and I feel like it's the same with the Rocket and the Comets. The space race. Just the entire season.
That's a legendary segue, by the way. It's like maybe it might be tops in the Taps history. I love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another big matchup that we got going on this weekend.
For the 3,567,998th time in my lifetime, the Utica Comets and the Laval Rocket are facing off against each other.
I would love to know the all-time record on that. Like, is it like split down the middle? Is it like 1,504,000? I wish I would have like held on to that number because it would have been really impressive to just split it.
I don't even know what I said.
And I just I got halfway through and I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah, no. I'm like, they haven't even existed for that long, and yet they've played each other almost 4 million times. They're matching up. The Rocket are mostly intact.
Mostly. They do have a star at forward I know that you're a big fan of.
Waluigi!
Wow.
Joshua Luigi. I'm gonna
Again,
anyway.
t-shirt idea, just saying.
Laval Rocket
Yeah.
in January. But yeah, no, the Rocket mostly intact, mostly healthy. I know that Gignac was sick yesterday, and they have had to recall some of the Lions, but they've got Barre Boulet, they've got Simino, they've got basically everybody that they need to have. Mayu is up in Montreal as of right now because Slavkovsky is injured, but they're mostly intact, which is rare this early in the season because you get maybe 2 games out of the Rocket before they've been decimated because early injuries to the Canadians. But Canadians are mostly healthy right now, with the notable exception of the people who are not. And like Line is still injured, so they still have like some players up for Line. Obviously Slavkovsky being injured, Matheson being injured. So they have just a whole bunch of different players up right now, but they're mostly intact, which is great because you want the players like Florian Jacki and Philip Méchard, who's killing it, and like Barre Boulet, who's there to insulate you, and Simoneau, who's so good, and like Gignac, who maybe doesn't put up all the points, but he is like that sandpaper player that they lost in like Pizzetta, when Pizzetta just like never made it back to the AHL. So yeah, they're mostly they're okay. They're not. It's not bad.
Yeah. And they're got a good start, 3-1 to the season. Look at that.
That's probably the hottest start that I have seen from the Laval Rocket. That's probably the most successful like first like couple weeks of a season that I have seen from the Laval Rocket since I started covering the Laval Rocket a year after the Laval Rocket were what's the past tense of inception?
Incepted?
I guess we'll go with it. Yeah, but since the very beginning, like I've literally only not covered them for a year of their existence. So, yeah, this is probably one of the best starts that they've had. They're kind of figuring it out. They are healthy. They have a lot of young blood in the team. There's a lot of prospects finally kind of aging into the AHL from various juniors leagues and college and all that kind of stuff. But they still got Dobesh, so like they should be chilling for a little while. I don't really see. I mean, other than like the Canadians kind of giving up and kind of being super frustrated with the goalie rotation they've got going on because, you know, it is a lot of inconsistent goaltending because you have one really young goaltender and one goaltender who has not had to carry like the major weight of the entire like of the season in Primo and Montembeau respectively, sorry. Um so short of them kind of calling Dobesh up just to kind of shake it up, or one of them getting Chris Kreidered, and them needing Dobesh, yeah, I called him out. He's on my fantasy team and everything.
I'm not even a Montreal fan, and that hurt my heart.
So short of, yeah, it hurt your heart. You know whose heart it really hurt? Do you know whose heart it hurt, Andrew? It hurt Carey Price's heart.
No, it hurt his knee.
And his heart, they're connected.
A knee is a long way from the heart.
Not if you're a goalie.
I can't finish that quote.
They get really close. But yeah, so like short of one of them getting like injured, like catastrophically injured, where they need a backup, don't really see Dobesh moving. But you know, that's just going to come down to the Montreal Canadiens playing defense in front of their goaltenders, and you know, so far they're not.
It's always a bit of a challenge. You can just ask the Red Wings about that. And then we got another aesthetically pleasing matchup coming up on Tuesday.
The Running Men.
The running mascots. So one of them's not a man; he's a road runner, but
Is an anthropomorphic bird. I think we're cool to call him a man.
I don't know. The art style seems to just speak a little differently.
Anyway, it's the exact same logo. It's the exact same logo.
It's not the exact same. The Abbey Canuck only has one hand on his stick. Tucson is doing it correctly with two hands on the stick at all times.
No, the Canuck has one hand on the stick because it's an active stick. He's playing defense. That's on back checking.
Okay, we can argue about that at another time.
Logo. Anyway, take a look. Take glasses off. Squint at the screen. Look at the Roadrunners and the Canucks logos. They are exactly the same. They're going to be playing each other, and it could be utter chaos. And I, for one, am so prepared for the utter chaos of the Abbotsford Canucks and the Tucson Roadrunners.
The Tuscan?
Anyway, the Tucson Roadrunners and the Abbotsford Canucks are either going to kill each other or only score one goal. And there's no in between.
They're going to do both. They're going to kill each other and only score one goal.
Yeah, there's no in between. They're going.
But it's going to be very aesthetically pleasing. I mean, just between the logos and the jerseys,
like the color combination is gonna be next level.
Mm-hmm. I'm all for this. Here's another one in Tucson for the all name bracket. Montoya Onyebuchi is suiting up from defense for the Roadrunners, and so he's gonna. I remember him from the San Jose days. He's gonna be a big body in front of that Tucson net, so it's gonna be pretty tough for your Arshdeep Bains and maybe a Linus Carlson to try and get in the prime scoring position up there in front of that Roadrunners net. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to look very pretty. And
look very pretty, but be extremely violent. And that's literally all anybody can ask for nowadays.
I mean, if that's not hockey to a T,
it's going to be the hockiest hockey that has ever hockeyed.
Bumper. You got the headline for the weekend.
The hockiest hockey that has ever hockeyed.
I think that's the only way we can end this episode, right? Is with on that line. I think that's it. We'll see you in Tucson on Tuesday. That's the right there. I'm Andrew. Welcome to season 2 of Taps. We got a whole lot more chaos ahead of you. But until next week, we'll see you then.